is talking about.
What's up, family? Rapper Tekashi 6ix9ine will be sentenced on December 18th after pleading guilty to charges involving racketeering, illegal firearms possession, and aiding in an attempted murder. He could spend the rest of his life in jail. In September, Tekashi, whose real name is Daniel Hernandez, testified against members of the 9 Trey Gangsta Blood Gang. Now he's pleading to get his time knocked down. Tekashi, along with his mother, brother, girlfriend, and several others, wrote letters to the judge overseeing his case asking that he be lenient with the rapper's sentencing. "It honestly feels like my world is crashing down," Tekashi wrote to the judge. "There is no excuse, no justification, and no apology good enough in this world to explain my crimes." Throughout his letter, Tekashi expressed remorse and he asked for a second chance, saying that he still considers himself to be a role model to millions. Unfortunately, he is a role model to millions because there are millions of young, impressionable minds out there who see someone who reminds them of themselves. Maybe it's the way he wears his hair, the way he has his body tattooed. Maybe it's his background, where he comes from, and they can relate to that. And they see him doing all this crazy stuff, and they say, well, if it's good enough for him, if it's good enough for Tekashi, it's good enough for me. It's like those women who admired, what's her name? Elizabeth, what's the lady name? The big star. Elizabeth Taylor. The one who have been married like 8 or 9 times. There, growing up, a lot of young girls admired Elizabeth Taylor for her beauty and success. And many of them grew up like, well, if it's good enough for Elizabeth to go in and out of marriage, it's good enough for me. Oftentimes, people live their lives vicariously through these celebrities. That's a problem because most of these celebrities live in la la land. They're not even real people. Like, what you see is not really what you get. Even when they're interviewing, some of them I know personally, and I read some of these interviews or I watch them being interviewed, and I'm like, that's not him. That's not her. But they have a public persona and then they have a personal persona. And what the public get oftentimes is not who they really are. It's very few people that are entertainers that will give you who they are. Well, what you see is what you get. Obviously, Tekashi 6ix9ine was not one of them because, he displayed this, or he portrayed this macho type of dude, this gangster, don't take no mess and going city to city, state to state, just challenging people in the streets to fights and shootouts, whatever you want to get into. We can get into some gangster stuff. That was his attitude. And, calling people out of their names, telling people they can suck his you-know-what, all of this type of stuff. And then when it came all the way down to it, when the rubber met the road, he told. Damn, I need to put that in a song. When the rubber met the road, he told. That's what happened. And this is what happens in almost every single case. Kids, don't try this at home. These dudes are not what they made themselves up to be. They're not who they say they are. They're just not. Think about the people that that's right around you who that's fake. They're not who they say they are. So if somebody is getting paid to have a certain type of persona, well, you know they're going to dress it up all the way. So you got to be very, very careful with these celebrities. I tell you what, if he is any type of role model beyond what he think he is, he's definitely a role model for prisoners. Because, or should I say future prisoners? Because there are some people that still look up to him despite all this stuff he's going through. And they're going to try to emulate his actions, and their asses are going to jail. This should be a cautionary tale for people. You should look at this as a cautionary tale. This should not be something that you look at and aspire to do. I don't understand how people can see something like this happen. This man had everything. He had the world in the palm of his hand. He had the money. He had what people wake up every day dreaming about. He had the money. He had the romantic relationships. Women just lined up to holler at him, to win favor. He had the luxury, the cars, the homes, the jewelry. He had all of those things, but one thing he did not have was peace. Because he was constantly trying to be something that he wasn't. This is when we talk about, you know how a lot of times you hear people saying money is not everything? Here we go. So he have all the money, but he's locked up. And his future is uncertain. He don't know if he's going to get a life sentence or if he's going to come home in a year, 5 years, 10 years, 12 years. It's whatever the judge decides. You do not want someone to have that type of power over you. Well, they can just basically throw the dice and say, okay, what did it land on? 4? Okay, we'll give him 4 years. What did it land on? 12? You get 12 years. It land on 12? You know what? That ain't high enough. Let's triple that. Give him 36 years. The judge can do that. Snitches don't last long, and Tekashi is now considered one of the biggest snitches in modern day history. If he ever gets out, he's going to be like Henry Hill at the end of Goodfellas, living in Witsex suburbia. No more talk.
What the haters talking about?